Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. You know who J.K. Rowling is? She's author of the Harry Potter book series. Her life story is amazing. It was she was a single mom. She'd been divorced. She's trying to raise her daughter on her own. She got laid off. She's like 39 years old and unemployed and on welfare, and she decides that it's just fine, I'll start writing this. I always said I wanted to write a book. I always wanted to be a writer. Got nothing else to do. I'll just write something and hopefully someone will pick it up and it can get in a bookstore somewhere and I can make a couple bucks. Well, now she's a billionaire. After 7 books and 8 movies later, and then she's done other projects, she's literally worth over $1 billion. I'm not saying that to be funny. She's an amazing writer. I've actually read some of that stuff. So J.K. Rowling did what a lot of people in the showbiz space do. After they make a lot of money and they get a lot of publicity and we find out JK isn't a dude, it's a woman. Oh, it's kind of a young, beautiful woman. And when I first came across her, she came across my radar. She was in her 40s, probably younger than I am now. And so now we have something amazing. We have an author who is successful beyond belief. She's kind of young. She's kind of beautiful. And, oh, she's an outspoken lefty activist. And we got to hear about it all the time. And she's a feminist. Great. Got it. Men bad, women good. That's great. I got government good, government social programs. They're all good. People who are concerned about, classic economics, we're all hateful and not empathetic. And so she had fallen into this box that she swam in comfortably until the trans issue morphed. Remember about 5, 6, 7 years ago when people decided that men could have babies? Because it used to be like, look, we know they can't have a baby, but let's just use the pronouns they prefer. Let's just call him a her, and let's just all be open-minded. Well, she was open-minded until it crossed that Rubicon, and the Rubicon was men going in women's spaces, and men going into women's locker rooms, and men playing in women's sports, and men exposing themselves in places that used to be private for women, where they could feel comfortable changing clothes or being naked. And one of the big issues that she has highlighted that's gotten her into the most trouble is she was vociferously opposed to men going to women's prisons. All right, we can fast forward a little bit. J.K. Rowling lives in Edinburgh, which is the capital of Scotland, and Scotland passed a new hate crime law. It's actually a hate speech law. It's a law that almost identical copy tried to be passed in Canada a few years ago, and Jordan Peterson's public defense or criticism of that is what catapulted him to stardom. But J.K. Rowling's not having any of it. So J.K. Rowling is in this schism on the left that we see where kind of like what I was talking about in previous segments here, like a Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, always his whole life been lefty. Russell Brand, same thing, always his whole life been lefty. But they recognize that a man's a man's, woman's a woman, and you can't change that. You can't change your chromosomes. You can't change your biology. I mean, you can change pronouns, and we can call you a woman and be respectful if you want, but, some people take it too far. They shouldn't be able to play sports against women. They shouldn't be able to go in places where women get naked. They shouldn't be able to go to women's prison. Well, in this law, they tried to codify the hate speech, and this is the tough part. Even if you're well-intended, how on earth do you write in legal language a law that would accomplish what you want to accomplish, get rid of hateful speech without curtailing free speech? Well, fantasy, no such thing. So J.K. Rowling struck. The law goes into effect on Monday, and she makes a post on Monday. And it is a 11-part post, meaning there's one tweet, and then there's a list of 10 tweets under it. In the initial tweet, she says, Scotland's Hate Crime Act comes into effect today. Women gain no additional protections, of course, but well-known trans activist Beth Douglas, darling prominent Scottish politicians, falls within a protected category. Whew. Well, then she starts replying on all of these trans people who've committed heinous crimes, or just some people weren't even trans. They committed heinous crimes, and some of them pretended to be trans just so they'd go to women's prisons. And so just to give you an example, she gives you a picture of a prisoner in the Scottish system right now, Isla Bryson. She says you found her true, authentic female self shortly before she was due to be sentenced. Misgendering is hate, so please respect Isla's pronouns, please. Love the leggings. So they sent a convicted double rapist, a guy who's literally going to prison for raping women more than one time, sending that dude to women's prison because he decided to put on a makeup and wig. She said that's not good for women. That is technically, if you want to read it, sounds like it should be against the law. And then she goes on to list a few more, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but like the next one is a guy who's going to go to prison for raping a 10-year-old girl in a public bathroom, decided that he was now going to be called Katie, and he gets to go to women's prison after that. It's a crazy setup they got going on in Scotland. She's been outspoken about it, and so now she's intersected these two activist threads together. She's against hate speech laws as well, just for this reason. So she gave them 10 examples, 10 tweets of her violating the law. And then she says, listen, I'm out of the country right now, but when I get back, y'all can come get me. Come on and get me. Look, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you have X/Twitter already, go look up J.K. Rowling and read this. But the last paragraph, I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I turn to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. So this woman's a hero. She's willing to stick herself out there and go to jail. And is this important? Heck yeah, this is important. We're fighting for free speech. Look, England doesn't really have free speech, or Great Britain, I should say, really doesn't have free speech anymore like we do. Canada doesn't. Most of the Western European countries, we are really the only country that has the closest thing to free speech. We have the freest speech basically anywhere on the planet. You can go to jail. People have gone to jail. Comedians have gone to jail in England for saying ethnic slurs. A woman on a bus called a Muslim woman an ethnic slur. They tracked her down. They find her. She didn't pay her fine. She went to jail. A comedian in Belgium has gone to jail. I've seen in all these countries the deterioration of free speech. And it's not like they're ever going to come out and say, hey, we just want to control all your speech. They're going to say, no, we just want to control this hateful, ugly speech that hurts people. And that's why they want you to try and believe that words are violence or words are hurtful. No, they're not. Sticks and stones break your bones. Words will never hurt you. And so we have her sticking up for this. And why do we care about what's going on in Scotland with their speech laws? I got news for you. We have the toe in the door on this side of the pond as well. We have hate crime laws. We have crimes where, yes, I know this is a robbery or this is an assault and battery. And this other situation is assault and battery, but we're going to treat this one worse because the motivation behind this one was based on racism or based on some sort of bigotry toward an immutable trait or sometimes even mutable traits. Do we ever use the term mutable? So J.K. Rowling, a lifelong, staunch, almost woke. She was woke until this latest iteration came around. They can't easily dismiss her like they dismiss you. They can't just brush her off and write her off like they write me off or a Trump off or the usual critics because, oh yeah, just a Nazi, just a bigot. That's what you are. Oh, because look, I've gotten it too. I oppose Obamacare. You know, people called in and told me I was racist for opposing Obamacare. You know, you get called this a whole lot, and it's sort of intellectual shortcut. It's like playing spades, and you just throw down your two of spades. I don't even want to try and debate you anymore. I'm just going to call you a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, whatever. But you can't do that to someone like J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling has been outspoken advocate on your side on all these issues. In fact, J.K. Rowling has been running around calling people racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe for a big part of her political activist life. So she can't be dismissed like that. That's what makes this so interesting is the twofold, is to see what happens when she can't be dismissed as one of the evil basket of deplorables. And then at the same time, we are kind of looking at a future version of what we would be facing in this country if we don't stop this ball from rolling downhill right now. Now, to give you a better explanation, Fox and Friends this morning did a nice little summary I'm going to pass along to you now.
A controversial new law aimed at cracking down on hate speech is now in effect in Scotland. The Hate Crime and Public Order Act creates a new crime of, quote, stirring up hatred related to age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. You break this law if you communicate or behave in a way, quote, that a reasonable person would consider to be threatening or abusive. And get this, prosecutors only need to prove that stirring up hatred was likely rather than intended, kind of up to the eye of the beholder. Critics warn it will have a chilling effect on free speech, and one of those critics is Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who lives in Scotland. She's practically daring police to arrest her for her views on gender, writing, quote, freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if this accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. We do have a response from the police in Scotland. We'll pull that up now. A Scotland spokesperson tells us this. We have received complaints in relation to J.K. Rowling's social media posts. The comments are not assessed to be criminal and no further action will be taken.
Just so you know, she misgendered every person in her Twitter thread that she aimed that speech at the law. And so for the police in Scotland, or at least in Edinburgh, to be like, no, that wasn't in violation of the law. They copped out. That's exactly what that was. They blinked. She was playing chicken. They're the ones who turned the wheel first. But it's Orwellian in the sense that, that's a very overused term these days. Orwellian. Everything's Orwellian. But this is literally Orwellian. This process by which your entire life, the rules have been laid out and totally understood and not questioned by anybody. But in the last 5 months or so, all of a sudden you have to say 2 + 2 is 5. All of a sudden you have to say men can have a baby. All of a sudden you have to say, no, men have no advantage when it comes to things like weightlifting. Oh my goodness. Oh, no. That swim meet, that doesn't bother me at all. That's one of the prerequisites. That's what makes it Orwellian. And in the part I'm talking about, if you haven't read 1984, some dude in some future dystopian future where the socialists have taken over, it's called INGSOC, English Socialism. This guy is not behaving. He's questioning the authorities, so they take him into the Ministry of Love where they torture the snot out of him and they brainwash him. And it's horrible to read the whole brainwashing part because it was a nice book. Interesting book. It's kind of like the Hunger Games or Divergent up until then. The torture part gets nasty. And part of the torture process, though, they are conditioning him. They are conditioning him to say 2 + 2 is 5. Now, he knows 2 + 2 isn't 5. And it's not just an ethereal concept. You can hold up 2 fingers, and then you can hold up 2 more fingers, and then you can see that there's 4 fingers there. So they torture him when he gives them the wrong answer. And even when he gives them the right answer, they torture him some more just to make sure that you're not just saying that in order for us to stop torturing you. We need to make sure that you believe. We need to, in your heart of hearts, to believe this or just not care. I'm not even fighting it anymore. Just make whatever it takes to make the pain stop. Whatever it takes to make my life go normal. Fine. That's what the truth is going to be. This is from 1984.
Do you remember writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say 2 + 2 = 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Vincent?
4.
And if the party says there are not 4, but 5, then how many?
5.
No. That's no use. You're lying. How many fingers, please?
4. What else can I say? 5, 4. Anything you like. Only please stop it. Stop the pain.
Yeah, so that's the answer he wanted. Just anything you like, whatever it is, just make it stop. And so when they have these laws, when you see, these other countries, these Western democracies, these countries that we're supposed to copy, America stinks and we've cheated all these other places. No, America is better than these other places because we treat free speech more free than they treat them in these other countries. Definitely more than in Canada. Because that's what we saw with the COVID protests in Canada, the truckers. They didn't ask them nicely to go home. They didn't acquiesce and give them a hearing. They didn't even change any policies. What did they do? They shut down their access to their bank records. They got as many of them fired as they possibly could. They arrested as many of them as they possibly could. They broke it down. So while the people who protested in favor of their policies got free reign to do whatever they want, you speak up against the cabal, you're going to get crushed. Sean, I'm going to squeeze this in just because you sent it to me. Sean sent me a viral video that was going around about this woman from Canada. And check out how free these people just to our north are not.
Hi, I'm Canadian, where we're trying to make it almost impossible to get any kind of vitamins or supplementation, but it's totally legal to have up to 2.5 grams of heroin or methamphetamine. Hey, I'm Canadian, where if you disagree with our political views, we'll call you a white supremacist, freeze your bank accounts, and beat you with horses in the street. Hey, I'm Canadian, and we don't like opposing views here, so you actually can't even watch independent news media on social media platforms, and we're about to take down podcasts and even Netflix shows that the government doesn't like. Yes! Hi, I'm Canadian, where it's way easier to get medically assisted suicide than an MRI or psychotherapy. Hi, I'm Canadian. It's really cold here. We have some of the coldest winters, which is why we are pursuing net zero, because we actually use fossil fuels to heat our homes, and we don't have alternative ways of heating our houses. That word? Hi, I'm a Canadian, and if you're a journalist that even thinks about interviewing one of our high-ranking officials, you'll go to prison.
And that's it. This really is a special country you live in. 800-288-WBAP, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.